as you mentioned, your journey, your book is called Purgatory to Paradise, and it does delve into that journey and how that changed things for you. So let's talk a bit about that. How did your cancer journey change, your viewpoint on design and that intersection point?
Great question. I basically realized while I was going through my cancer journey that beauty, and I was spending so much time at home and I started redecorating. I started changing things. And from an epigenetic standpoint, 2/3 of cancers are actually not about your genes. They're beyond your genes. They're your environment. They're your lifestyle. They're your mental state. And I started really investigating what around me was toxic, literally, in terms of relationships, in terms of environment and things I was eating and drinking and all of that. So I feel
Can I ask what made you look at that? Because that's really intuitive. I don't think that's something everybody would look at. Like, a lot of people would look at that and say, oh, poor me, this happened to me, or whatever it may be. Like I know, so in my family, I'm in good shape, but colon cancer runs through my family. So like everybody's like, oh, at some point in time, you're just going to get it. And I guess like looking at it, like you don't have to have that viewpoint. I guess for you, what made you look at it differently?
Because I didn't see myself as a victim. I didn't. And in my book, I actually aligned with the story of Persephone, which is the goddess of the seasons.
Oh my! So you're gonna laugh at this. So we're expecting our next child, and we'd like to be surprised if it's a boy or a girl. So we were with our first two, and we've been going back and forth. If it's a boy, I really like the name Stetson, but we've been going back and forth with my master's is in ancient history, so we can go back and forth between Anastasia and Persephone. And and the thing I was so worried about is like, I don't want this kid going to kindergarten and everybody calling her Persephone. But anyway, continue.
Are you kidding me?
No.
I'm getting chills. Totally chills. Okay.
I studied Roman emperor worship, and then a lot of like Hellenistic culture.
We have to, that's a whole other podcast there. That is amazing. I also studied classics and,
there we go.
and anthropology of religion. So I absolutely adore the word Persephone and the message of her. I think you'd really enjoy my book. Persephone is somebody that I started bonding with when I was 9 years old. Believe it or not. That's when I was introduced to Greek mythology. And I write about that in my book. So she is all about the cycles of life and death. And I think as a society, we are taught to be afraid of death. Mm-hmm. And death is cast as the villain. And so I use the analogy of Hades being my cancer, who took me down into the underworld. But he was also Persephone's lover and her very devoted husband. So in that way, we danced the tango. And basically the lessons that I learned while I was going through cancer were my pomegranate seeds that I willingly ate. So that's the analogy that I used. And I think Persephone is a lovely, lovely name. I actually designed dress collections in my East Village shop that were called the Persephone series.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I see the thing I love about that, because if people don't know, Persephone is the daughter of Hera and Zeus, and she's kidnapped by Hades.
Demeter.
She's brought to the underworld, and the 6 months ish of the year that we don't have good weather is when she's in the underworld, and the 6 months that she's here is when we have good weather. So that's where that idea comes from. And I guess like looking at that then, how did that change your viewpoint on design? And I guess, how are you doing health-wise now?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for asking. And in terms of that analogy, so we commute between life and death. Our cells are recycling all the time. Our organs are regenerating all the time. We're actually sleeping at night. That's our underworld at night. We're in the darkness and we need the darkness. And on a psychological level, I think it's really important to embrace all these feelings. I'm not trying to, sugarcoat cancer whatsoever. Right. I was very, very, very upset and in a lot of fear. And I think having gone through and welcomed all the stages of that level of grief, of not having the kind of future I thought I was going to have, because tomorrow may never come. You don't know. So I think it's important to state that. And what I did at that time was realize that I had agency. And that's the most core answer I can give you is that we are in our most divine essence. We are in control of our lives as much as we can be. Yes, we dance with the things that are out of control, but that's what life is. We take the lessons and we keep going. And I think with cancer, what allowed me to not look at myself as a victim was I was curious. I wasn't going to say, oh, well, just bad things happen to good people. Let's figure this out. Let's investigate. I didn't have the genetic marker. So I was like, okay, well, what caused this then? Let me explore it. That's just my nature. I'm
So
incredibly curious.